figure it out. I'm actually finally figuring out how to use this damn cell phone to do a live. I can't believe I have 12 people waiting for me. I apologize for being a little bit late. It is 12 minutes after 10, and I tried to make the live stream for 10:15, but on a cell phone, I don't know that you're allowed to do it except for on the hour when you're scheduled. So good to see you too, Squirrels on Fire. I did clean my glasses. I do have the glare under control, so hopefully I'll be able to keep up with most of your lovely comments. How is everybody's weekend? It's Monday. It's November 13th. It's about 10:15 East Coast Standard Time. And sadly, it is the 1 year anniversary of the insanely horrific Idaho 4 case. So I feel like talking about that out of respect for the victims and their families and the mile marker. You know, it's huge. Also, I very, very much want to talk about our Squirrels on Fire theme with Kylie, Ms. Kylie Rodney. Squirrels, you've just been kicking some butt, and I really appreciate the hard work that you've been up to. So thank you. And thank you for being here, everybody. Also, I want to talk about the Caitlin Armstrong trial that's continuing today. The best coverage that I've seen of the Caitlin Armstrong Red Rum trial is True Crime Rocket Science. He's actually there at the courthouse. So he does a super thorough job no matter where he is on the planet, but he's actually there. I think he has a very strong connection, feeling of connectedness to the case because he's quite a cyclist himself. And Caitlin Armstrong, the defendant, is a bit of a cyclist, but not professional. Of course, she was dating this dirtbag who I have a very slanted opinion of, that he's a top-notch professional cyclist and like a bottom of the barrel type of dude to connect up with, if you ask me, in my humble opinion. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of a conversation and hoping to open up a fantastic discussion with you guys where we all can learn something and come out stronger people on the other side, right? So I'm super excited about something that I've talked with you guys a little bit about, but not a lot. I just don't know quite yet how to integrate it. But you know, I'm in the process of becoming a yoga instructor, of all things, which this freaking defendant is, or was. It's like the most antithesis of all things to be yoga instructor and a life taker, allegedly. Unreal. Anyway, I wanted to share a very cute kind of yogi concept with my people here. Thanks again for being here. Don't confuse yourself with a photo of yourself. That's not you. Like, I'm looking at the screen right now, and that's not me. That's just a mirage. So I just thought that was super cute. And like I said, it's a yogi kind of thing. So I haven't been weaving a lot of that into my YouTube just because it's new and I'm figuring out how. And I really liked my YouTube the way it was with the jewelry and the home decor and, oh right, true crime. But, you know, really justice. Fighting for justice and self-expression and truth. It's all about truth, which is my common denominator with learning how to do better at yoga practice myself and also instructing others. So very, very cool. I love it. Let me take a drink real quick and get started because I don't have that much time. I need to wrap up by 11 at the latest, I think, and then possibly I might be able to come on for a short one this afternoon if you guys are game and if it seems like we need to and I can carve out the time. So let's see. Hello, hello. Who is on the screen? Then I'm confused. Mark, you are such a dear. I love your silly brain. It's like the best confabulation of who's in here that I can come up with at the moment, really, right? I mean, we try to express ourselves how we are. As you can see, I'm wearing my 3 necklaces, which is an homage to Ms. Kylie. This is the one that I made a few months ago. That was pretty much a breakthrough, completely different from anything I've ever made. And I've been kind of doing that type of thing. These 2 are not ones that I made. This one I got from an artist at an art show. It's Mexican opal. And this is a recent acquisition, and it's carnelian, which is a really amazing stone. And then I've just got like antique Asian money hanging from my ear. So let's talk about the money. And don't forget to hit that like button. Can you see it down there in the corner? I think you can. It's kind of hidden behind your comments. Please hit that like button, share, subscribe, turn on your notification bell if you like to have a notification when I'm coming on or when I've dropped a video. You're a soul encapsulated in a meat cloaked skeleton. So this is why I always loved the band, their name, but I love their music too, the Meat Puppets. When I first heard of them in the, what was it, late 80s? That was when I first became a fan of the Meat Puppets, like early on. And I was just like, what a weird name. Like at first I wasn't cool with it. I was like, that's just bizarre. Like I didn't know if they were talking about something like a dirty joke or what. But it's grown on me as their music has certainly grown on me. And maybe you guys have heard of the Meat Puppets now because they hit the big time when they played live with Nirvana at the Madison Square, what did they call that? That was like their last big thing, Unplugged, their masterpiece. So anyway, let's stay focused. So yeah, if you don't know the Meat Puppets, check out, you can Google Meat Puppets Unplugged Nirvana, and I think they play at least 3 songs that are some of their best songs that I swear to the gods that they actually wrote those songs for Kurt Cobain to sing. They just didn't know it yet, in my opinion. Let's go then. Da-da-da-da. I'm going to soften some polymer clay while you do your thing. Cool. Yeah. Protection and from envy and jealousy. There's so much of the envy and jealousy that plays into the Caitlin Armstrong trial. Let's call it the Mo Wilson trial because that's the victim, and the victims so often get put into like on the back burner, like with Kylie Rodney. Let's stay focused on her, not the slew of jerks that surrounded her. And with the Idaho 4, I've heard people actually call it the BK case with his whole name. And it's like, no, it's not his case. The case is about the 4 college students who were slain. He's a criminal defendant. That's all. He could be the villain that did it. I honestly don't believe that at all, that he's the person who did it. But let's see how much time we have to talk about all 3 of these cases, because I feel like it's really important to talk about that one since it's the anniversary, and also really important to talk about Mo Wilson since the trial is current. And with all of these cases, with any case, following the money is extremely pertinent. And I don't think it's really been broadly publicized that I know of. And I will continue to look at it and see if other people are covering it. You guys can tell me too. Caitlin Armstrong owed Lance Armstrong, no, Colin Strickland, sorry. Lance Armstrong has nothing to do with this. That was a whole nother scandal. Caitlin Armstrong owes Colin Strickland upwards of $300,000 to the best of my knowledge. So I think that money plays a big part. Of course, the jealousy plays a big part of the demise of Mo Wilson. But I think you'd be missing the ball completely if you didn't focus on the money, which is always the case, you guys, always. And when you look at the Idaho 4, that is, in my opinion, very likely the bottom line here is money with the university, money with the sorority, money with the police department. So I put in my description a link to Neeks Peeks' most current drop, which was, I think, from Friday. It's under half an hour long. It's brilliant. It's absolutely phenomenal. In my opinion, she's 100% on target. There's so much to be said about the uh, trafficking, right? And the finances that that brings in. So I guess there's like 10, 15, maybe more bank accounts that these four victims had in their names. And actually, I think the three victims, I think it's just the females. I don't think Ethan is a part of that. But a lot of bank accounts. She has a list that I took a screenshot of that's not all bank accounts. It's 18 items, and some of them are like PayPal and other forms of payment. So I don't want to confuse that with how many bank accounts these three victims have their names on. It's weird. It's really weird. But it makes sense if there is that type of activity, because when you have trafficking, the first thing you have to think of is the laundering. You have to clean your money so that you can have some legitimacy to it. And typically, what I know of with this is that people buy real estate with cash, literally suitcases full of cash to buy the real estate. And then that legitimizes the cash that could have come from anywhere. So, yeah, let me keep up with you guys here. That reminds me of Lady Gaga's meat dress. That was cray-cray, huh? That was pretty wild. Loved them along with grunge that came with the 90s. Yeah, they were in the 80s, because it was 1986, I think, that I got introduced to them. And right away, I just thought they were amazing. It took a long time for the general public to catch on, but you know, better late than never. And the way those guys are, they probably preferred being low profile anyway, because, you know, fame and fortune does a number. Look what it did to Kurt. It does a number. So these are the things that motivate us. I've got 2 notebooks today, only 2. The things that motivate us humans are sex, food, money, and power. That's pretty widely accepted as truth, right? Those are the 4 things that really motivate people. And you could tie money and power together for sure. And even the reproductive elements of attraction tie into money and power. And that's kind of a survival thing, but also the other side of that, the flip side of that, and things, honestly, that motivate me. I mean, I'm not immune to being motivated by those other things, but I don't focus on them. I really am motivated by peace, justice, not to sound like a goofball, but you know I am, sharing, and kindness. So, like, that's what I'm doing here with you guys. I feel like I'm fighting for justice. I'm sharing with you guys. We're being kind to each other. But at the same time, I titled this something about you got to be cruel to be kind. We all remember that fabulous song from probably the early 80s. It's so true. Like, being saccharine, sweet, sugar-coated kind is not being honest, and you're not doing yourself or anyone a favor like that. If you say, oh yeah, you're doing great, when somebody's clearly not doing great, that's not being kind. In my opinion, that's being effed up. Sometimes you might sound harsh when you're being kind. Like when you're telling somebody, let's be very superficial, when you're telling somebody how to wear their hair so that it doesn't make them look all weird. If they love their hair in a mullet and you're trying to tell them, look, the mullet isn't so flattering on you, that's might feel really mean and unkind to the mullet lover, but you're trying to help them out and trying to get them out of a bad hair day. And, you know, I just love the way a bad hair day is like a metaphor for everything bad in the world and trying to turn their life into a good hair day, which is really all you need, right? Like, who cares about money and food and attractiveness and power? As long as you have good hair, which is why so many of us on the YouTube love our hats, right, Shan? Right, Mark? You're always hiding your hair with that thing that makes it look like you don't have any. And again, I hope I'm not being unkind. You love to be funny, so I'll try to be a little funny with you, but carefully, because jokes can turn into things quickly, right? Let's see. I miss my mullet, Mark. Like I said, you are ahead of the game. Let's see. Ninja, hey girl. If you are a girl, I don't know, but love your work, man. Keep it up. Just lurking. Thank you so much for being here from down under, right? I miss Mark's mullet too. Oh, that's just freaking adorable. Yeah. I love hats, especially in winter. Yeah. I know hats are cool. Hats are way cool. Let's see, what else? What else? So in Ninja's video, and maybe I'll just run down that real quick since, like I said, it's the anniversary. I hate to be rushing. We're already at 10 minutes, so, you know, we might have 40 minutes left. That might sound like a long time now, but it's going to be over like that. So let's just focus on Ninja's latest. I feel like a lot of what's going on in the Idaho 4 case is a sham and is in efforts to cover things up and to hide things. Early on in the case, did I write this down here? Where did I write it down? Early on in the case, remember when we first saw the body cam footage of the cops busting the underage drinkers outside of the house at 3:01 a.m. And there was a white, what looked like it could be a white Hyundai Elantra in the background. And Chief James Fry, I think this is in this video of Neeks Peeks, says, you know, that car is immaterial. And I think that was before they came up with the alleged surveillance camera from the gas station with the white Hyundai Elantra. And I just thought that was really interesting that he tried to trash that and then it became a thing. But I feel like a lot of what's been going on in that case is deception, 100% deception. I also thought of something for all of these people that are graduates of the University of Idaho and their families are graduates of the University of Idaho. I just noticed this morning that Chief James Fry is James Fry Jr. And when you have that type of family name legacy, those families are usually more committed to legacies. So I'm going to make a theory from just that simple Chief James Fry Jr. that possibly his parents went to the University of Idaho. And that, you know, we know that Kaylee's parents went to the University of Idaho. We know that Chief Fry and his wife both went there. I've looked into the time frame, and her parents are a little bit older, a little bit younger. And I forget. But it didn't look like they would have been students at the same time. Not to say that they wouldn't have known each other, especially when you look at photographs of Kaylee's mother from when she was in college age. And if you think Kaylee was a knockout, wait till you see her mom. And her father, Steve, he was a knockout too. So I can't imagine being a smoking hot couple on a relatively small college campus that they weren't well known. So I think it's interesting that Chief Fry and his wife, Julie, are also graduates of the school. And then you have to remember that his wife, Julie, is like the financial director or something like that for the county. She was elected to a position, clerk of courts, I think, maybe. But also, she was hired as like a finance director for the city of Moscow before her husband was then appointed to become the police chief. And that is a conflict of interest to have a power dynamic like that in a marriage in a small town. Most communities really try to avoid that type of thing. So the Fries are pretty connected, as an understatement. Um, so this isn't to insult anybody that was a victim in the Idaho 4, but the idea that this house was a party house, and that's common knowledge, but there was no illicit substance activity, and that's just insane for anybody to think so. That's an insane contradiction right there. It's a party house. A party house is a party house. Partying doesn't mean just the legal alcohol. Partying means partying. And the insistence that it's not any type of illicit substance connected with that house, to me, is respectfully an attempt to not trash the reputation of the victims, but also, more so, that's an excuse to try to cover for the university and cover for the town, and to try to keep that characterization out of their reputation, especially when it comes to the business of being a college town. You're wanting these people to send their babies to your school and then to give you buckets and buckets of money to pay the tuition. That is not going to go over so well with people getting harmed by deals that are involved with, allegedly, in my opinion, potentially things like the university, the Greek system, and the law enforcement. Also, I want to add, I did not know this, and Neeks Peeks had a little piece in her video, that the university had its own police department, university police department, until 2011. So in 2011, they dissolved that to, modify their budget for the better. And then they became looked after, shall we say, by the Moscow PD. And the Moscow PD has a little department I think it's in their athletic building. So I knew that they had a liaison from the department that was specifically to the school. I'm forgetting right now who that is. It would be crazy if it was Blake or Rosendale, but I don't think it is. I think it's someone else. Anyway, I want to highlight more about Blaker, because over the weekend I thought, he's sus AF. We have him on body cam. He's the one in the backyard saying, oh, look, no access to the balcony. He's also the guy who was in the car with the lead detective that took 4 hours to arrive to the crime scene. So Sergeant Blaker in the car with Corporal Brett Payne, and Corporal Brett Payne is the lead, but a sergeant is going to be a supervisor of a corporal. A corporal is just one rung up from officer. And then you would have sergeant, you would have captain, you might have assistant chief, and then police chief. So a sergeant is a fairly serious rank. I mean, I'd say a very serious rank. Corporal is even a fairly serious rank. I mean, just being a law officer is a lot of power. You don't need to have any special ranking. You have a lot of power as an officer. So once you become a supervisor and you get extra credentialing, you have a lot more power. And when you're something like a captain, an assistant chief, or a police chief, you have pretty much all the power in the world as we know it in our communities here in America anyway. Let's see. Harsh One says this Idaho 4 is such a mess, and another thing that law enforcement looking guilty is a cover up, in my opinion. Truth for Kylie, justice for Kylie. Yeah. Um, and I should have my laptop back by the end of the week, hopefully. Church ladies aren't saints either. What? Church lady from SNL, that Dana Carvey, that's one of my favorite characters. Hi, Mark, and I bet you rocked the mullet. I know people that went to college towns back in the 80s to get things to party with when I was younger, not new, but we didn't have the extra crap. Yeah, I mean, I partied a lot when I was in my undergraduate at Miami University. A lot, a lot. And that was a very heavy cultural vibe with the Greek system. When I was in school there in the late 80s, mid 80s, it was like 31% of the student body was in a sorority or fraternity. Miami University happens to be the place where Sigma Chi started. So Sigma Chi, you guys I'm sure all know, is the fraternity that Ethan was a member of, that the party was happening that Bethany was at and that Ethan and Xana might have been at for a minute. Sigma Chi is the fraternity that had the brain sitting on top of the dumpster outside of their fraternity that night. Yeah, I said brain on top of a dumpster. Uh huh. Yeah. Oh, man. Is Shan still here? I'm like, what is that anyway? What could that possibly be? Shan was quick with the zombie trap. But yeah, I think that was very likely a flag to indicate that something's been done or to indicate a green light to go ahead and do whatever. I don't think that just happened to be like a brain that just happened to come out of their Frankenstein lab that they just happened to set on the dumpster, not in the dumpster, like some people have tried to allude to. Like, oh yeah, that's not such a weird thing at a college campus where they have medical studies. Yeah, like, yeah, it is. It's called hazardous material. It's a huge thing. And when somebody calls it into the police department a couple days later and Brett Payne takes the call and he says, oh, it's probably just animal. Thanks for calling. Bye. That's crazy. Crazy that he took the call when he has this giant case in front of him, this giant unsolved case, and crazy that he didn't take it more seriously just based on the hazmat alone. Just to go to the fraternity and knock on the door and say, hey, you really need not be having brains hanging out on your dumpsters, please, and thank you. And by the way, does that have anything to do with the heinous crime that happened right across from you that same night? Anybody here know anything? I mean, give me a break. Yeah, still here, squirrels. I was just testing you. Anyway, I love that so much. That was the coolest, the zombie trap. So you always will get the queen credit for the zombie trap. Um, so that white Elantra in the body cam from that night, what looked like a white Elantra in the police body cam from the alcohol busting of the underage drinking, could possibly be a match, couldn't it? Maybe. I mean, has that really been vetted? These things just get glossed over and tossed aside. Um, but also, what's really important is just the way not only the university conducts itself, but the way the police department conducts itself. And when I say police department, I'm talking about the department as a whole and specific officers. So the officer who was in charge, still is, to my knowledge, in charge of the Idaho 4, the Corporal Payne, also has a tendency or proclivity to demean and threaten young female students that are scared to death of him on their property. and I'm speaking specifically about when he came to the door and Xana answered the door, and she was obviously pretty messed up drinking, and she was underage. I think she was 20. And he threatens that he could be getting a hold of the dean of the school and some type of authority with the sorority. And he specifically says, you know, this is a student code of conduct issue. And to me, that's really escalating, attempting to escalate and raise fear in a person who is not a threat at all. I mean, underage drinking, I'm not a fan of it, but we've all done it. Give me a freaking break. And doing that in the privacy of your own home is very different than doing that in public or being intoxicated in public. And I just think that it's important to see that type of escalative behavior from law enforcement, because law enforcement, they're trained to de-escalate. That's their job, is to come into an acrimonious, volatile situation and bring it down, right? That's what they do. That's what they do every freaking day. That's what they're supposed to do. So the probable cause affidavit was written by Brett Payne and Sergeant Blaker. Sergeant Blaker, not only the dude in the car with him arriving 4 hours late and the dude saying, oh, no access to the balcony, also the dude who took the call a year prior when Kaylee thought she saw this missing woman at a Walmart, and she called it in, and Sergeant Blaker is the one who took that case. So just those three things right there, the one I just mentioned, that doesn't make him look guilty. That makes him look like he's doing his job. The no access to the balcony, that was a bizarre, creepy statement. Because really a cop should say, oh, look, they're smart. They don't have a ladder or stairs going up to the balcony. That's really good for safety. That's how a cop should be thinking, not like, no access to the balcony. What do you think of that? That was ridiculous. The being 4 hours behind a 911 call of a quadruple homicide is also beyond ridiculous. What is even further beyond ridiculous, in my opinion, is the law enforcement command staff trying to downplay that like it's nothing. Trying to downplay the 8-hour delay like it's nothing. Not even coupling the two together and looking at the fact that you've got 12 hours there of material disintegrating and decomposition. 12 hours. So that pretty much wipes out a lot of the forensic evidence and data collecting right there. 12 hours, a lot of the information is shot to shite. But let's see. There's this whole part of Neeks Peeks videos where she's talking about the informants. That's like the title of her videos, about informants, confidential informants, and how they're not required to obviously be identified. They're also not required to be cross-examined. They're alleviated from needing cross-examination by Idaho law specifically. And that in the affidavit written by Payne and Blaker, they actually mention informant in item 10. And I was going to go back to the affidavit and read that more in context, because it's just a screenshot in the Neeks Peeks video. So they're talking specifically about an informant in item 10 of that arrest affidavit. And the task force that was involved in a previous bust, I think it was 2018, 2019. I didn't write down the year, but a previous bust that involved the same judge, judge, And uh, high tech nails was a business front that they used to do a lot of the deals, and I'm gonna guess to launder cash. So really, what you want for laundering cash is a business where people use cash, and typically real estate's not that business, right? Typically people don't use cash in their real estate deals, but that's how you can launder a very large sum of cash all at once. Whereas typically laundering happens on a more day to day in smaller amounts. Car washes are one of the biggest money laundering vehicles. Restaurants and bars, food trucks, yeah, restaurants and bars, food trucks, um, and places, like I said, where people use cash. So a nail salon would make a perfect laundering facility. So something that is often talked about in Shan's lives, especially her and Billy Darling, are often talking about RICO laws. I honestly am not that familiar with RICO laws, and I want to familiarize myself because with organized crime, that could apply to Idaho. I'm pretty sure it would. Um, anyway, also with trafficking and substances, not only are people looking to get loaded and to get high, people are also looking for steroids. So it's just something to keep in mind, um, especially in the Idaho 4 case. But I don't know, could even be relevant over in the Mo Wilson case. I'm not saying that she would have been using that. We know that Lance Armstrong got busted and got stripped of all of his awards because of doping. And it's my understanding that in professional sports, everybody does it. It's just a matter of how you can like skirt around the issues or skirt around getting caught, getting busted, but that without something, you're not even going to be in that league of competition. Because really, to be in these high level, global competitions, you're talking milliseconds. Like these people are all extremely talented and extremely gifted athletes. And it's just like a matter of luck, like if you're having a good day or if you had a fly on your face or just the littlest things that are going to make or break your ability to win that gold medal in the Olympics. Anybody who makes it even close to the Olympics is of the same caliber as the person who won the gold medal. They just had a really good day that day, in my opinion. So that's not to justify illegal doping and steroid use, but it's just to say that that's what I understand is the culture in professional sports, is that everybody does it. It's just that you have to be careful and you have to not get caught and you have to skate around the landmines. So let's see. What else did I want to cover? Where are we at? We're only at 38 minutes. I do so well when I'm speeding, huh? Um, I've said that the unmarked police car, like that screenshot of the so-called car. Yeah. I watched a documentary about alpine skiing village in Tahoe from back in the 90s or 80s. My glare, I think it's 80s, yeah. And how it was a bunch of hippies who were the ski patrol. And the avalanche, it was pretty good. And they kind of explained. Fascinating, harsh one. I would love to see that. Do you remember the name of it? About how the Truckee Way. Wow. Wow. See, I don't think about there being a bunch of hippies in that area. I know that there are, but I think of there being a lot of elite in that area. Um, but the elite need to be served by some other non-elite, right? I mean, they all have chefs and drivers and housekeepers and personal assistants, just to name a few. Not to mention the groundskeeper and the accountants and the private investigators. Like, every elite is going to have private investigative teams working for them, right? Let's see. I have a picture of two females, and one was around Kylie Rodney, and the other Idaho BF, like as in Bethany, and Zanime look alike. I think it's weird, but I swear BF made a post about Kylie in the beginning. Wow, just saying sus in my opinion. I don't recall a post from BF about Kylie, but I also want to say that even if she did, that doesn't implicate anybody for anything. But it would be interesting, right? Even if she didn't know her, just that she was acknowledging the situation. So I guess BF not only lived in Reno, graduated from Reno High School, and I think her father's a dentist in Reno, but also allegedly she went to school for maybe like her sophomore or freshman year at Truckee High School, maybe, I don't know. I also want to bring up the whole thing with Ms. Kylie and COVID. And again, over the weekend, I was thinking how in 2020, when there was, the stay-at-home orders and everything shut down, she was 14. So going back to March of 2020 when that first started. And maybe she would have been like a freshman or maybe even in 8th grade. But a lot of kids everywhere stayed home and did online school for the rest of that school year, 2020. And then I think a lot of kids decided to continue that and did homeschooling. We know she was homeschooled already, so that's not even very relevant. But what is relevant is just how she accelerated. At that point in time with the COVID lockdown, she would have been maybe starting high school, and then 2 years later she graduated. Like, that's freaking phenomenal. Like, people are always talking about how she was so smart, right? And how she really had it together and she was very responsible. 2 years, you guys, 2 years from the time COVID started, she finished 4 years of high school material, roughly, basically, with honors. Wow. Anyway, it really like gelled over the weekend with kind of clearing my mind and meditating and just really trying to boil down in the chaos of all these cases what the F is going on. So going back to the Mo Wilson case, the business deals, the $300,000 that Colin loaned to Caitlin. So Caitlin Armstrong owed Colin Strickland, her on and off again live-in boyfriend, who she still lived with, over $250,000. And things were shaky with them, and he had dated this other person. Mo Wilson lived in San Francisco. She was visiting the town that they lived in, Austin, Texas, for a race the weekend that she was unalived there. And the defense of the criminal defendant, is trying to paint a picture of like domestic violence with Mo Wilson's other ex-boyfriend. And I just thought, that's a really dangerous game to play, because essentially you've got Caitlin and Colin in a potential domestic violence type of relationship, where if she is the one who unalived his other love interest, that is domestic violence in a sense. So for them to be bringing up domestic violence as a defense that, oh, well, Mo was in a relationship with some other hothead, so maybe he done it. Like, like, it's good that they're opening up that Pandora's box of domestic violence in my relationship. And I'm not pointing the finger at Colin Strickland that he was a DV perp, but he certainly was a jerk, to say the least, with not only the way he acted in these interactions that you see in texts and such with the two love interests in his life, but like if you guys saw at the end of last week where he went out of his way to stomp on the foot of a camera news journalist outside of the court. And remember, initially, when the police contacted him, like on day one, about the deceased, he acted like he didn't know her. Like, that's lying to law enforcement. That's impeding an investigation. That's obstruction of justice. He needs to be charged with these things, in my opinion. I don't think he is innocent at all. There's texts that show him communicating with Caitlin that he delivered the flowers and that he's headed home and something about food. And all that could be, yeah, he had some lie that he told his girlfriend that he was delivering flowers to somebody's mother, I think. And it could also be code for something. There could be something. This is conspiracy theory. Important to point that out. This is all just cooked up in me brain. There could be something that he told Mo about his business dealings with Caitlin that was unsafe for her to know. One of the businesses that he had with Caitlin is that they did like a refurbishing of old trailers, which is very cute and kitschy. But also, you know, basically being like a used car salesman and could be on the sleazier side of things. Again, I'll go with the cute and kitschy because, you know, trailers and camping and trailer camping, that's all very trendy and fun, and you can do a lot with your home decor and all that jazz. But that's just one of the many businesses that they were in. He also had a lot of sponsors. That man had a lot of income, and he was trying to teach his love interest, Mo, about how to be more financially sound in this business. And he was also having his ex-girlfriend involved in a lot of his business dealings. So there's a lot of financial stuff going on. And it had occurred to me when this whole case first broke wide open that it sounded very much like a potential that he could have shared information with Mo, thinking that she was going to be his new girlfriend and telling her about something that maybe some shady business deals that he wished he hadn't told her. He's the one who bought the weapon that she was unalived with, you guys. He bought that for Caitlin just a few months before it happened. Wow, where are we at? We are, oh, it's 10:59. I'm going to have to wrap up. I'm so sorry. I'm so glad I looked. I love you guys so much. I want to just send you light and love. I will try to come on later this afternoon. I can't promise. If I can't do at around 2 o'clock, then maybe around, I don't know. Evening is not good for brain functionality. I'll try to do something around 2 o'clock. If not, then I'll just take notes and save it for tomorrow. I do need to wrap up quickly, though, so I can't read any more comments. Sending you light, sending you love. Have a really good afternoon. I just missed you guys so much over the weekend. I swear it cracks me up how much I miss communicating directly with my posse here. So thanks for being here. Let's pray for these families, pray for justice. So if I can come back on later today, that'll be one of my prime objectives. So again, peace out. Take good care of yourself. Drink your agua. Eat your protein, fruits and veggies. Hit that like button. Can you still see it? Yeah, right there. Ding, ding, ding. All right, you guys. Thanks so much for joining me.